Morning guys. So yesterday on the WhatsApp group we talked about running Emuflight on our tiny whoops, and I spoke about how good it was, and I was asked to do a little tutorial on how to set it up. So today I'm making a video to show you guys how to download and install the Emuflight configurator onto your PC, how to download and flash the appropriate firmware for your flight controller, and then also we're going to get a special CLI dump from Project Mockingbird that we're going to dump into our CLI, and that's basically pre-configured. Everything is set up, tuned already from Project Mockingbird, so there's no extra tuning needed unless you know what you're doing and you want to play around with the bits and rates. You can do so, but otherwise the quad should fly perfectly. All that you need to do over and above is make sure you rebind your flight controller to your radio again, and then also set up the modes tab to correspond to what's already pre-programmed, and make sure your channel mapping matches that, and then also make sure your ARM switch is mapped. So we're going to look on the laptop now and look at Emuflight, how to install that, where to get that, and then also in the video link below there is links for all the files that you would need. So let's go check it out. Alright, on the computer, if you follow the link in the description, you'll come to this getup.com website, and here we will be downloading the Emuflight configurator. On this page you just scroll down to the bottom, there you will get a list of the assets. From here you just select the appropriate file for your specific computer, click on it, it will download. Once it's finished downloading, you will open that file and install it like you would any other program that you've downloaded. Once that's downloaded and you've opened Emuflight, you'll be greeted by this screen. Before you go any further, I'll suggest you connect your quad to the configurator via USB. Your screen won't show this because yours is not configured yet, but you will go to CLI. In CLI you'll type in dump, enter, and that will give you your complete flight controller setup from Betaflight as it is now. So you'll just go to save file, click save it somewhere where you can find it easily. So if you do not like Emuflight or you want to change back to Betaflight sometime, you can just go to your Betaflight CLI, copy these settings, put it in there and save, and then your quad is like it would be before. But for now we will go up to update firmware. Alright, from here what we'll do is we'll make sure we select the correct target for our flight controller. For the Mobula 6 specifically, it is running a Crazy Bee F4 flight controller. My specific one is the FR Sky version, so mine will be Crazy Bee F4 FR. If you're running Sky, it will be FS, and so forth and so forth. So just make sure you select the appropriate one. Then on this tab here, you'll just make sure you use the latest version. In this case it's 19th May 2020. You'll select that one. You'll load that firmware and flash. If for some reason your flight controller does not want to go into DFU mode, once you start flashing it gives you a timeout error, you can just go to Impulse RC and download the driver fixer program. What that will do is you will open the Impulse RC driver fixer, you plug in your quadcopter, the fixer will look for your flight controller, examine it, and then install the appropriate drivers to enable your flight controller to enter DFU mode when you're under a configurator. I had to do this on mine, and you will probably need to do this on yours as well. So once you've run that and that's successful, you can come back to the screen and try and flash your board again. Alright guys, so after you've flashed your firmware onto your flight controller, what we'll do is we'll go to connect. Then we'll go over to CLI tab. And then in the video description below there's a link to a Google Drive folder with 2 diff files. These are the 2 diff files that we're going to play with, and that's specifically made for our quads. The first one that's allocated in January was straight from the Facebook page, and that one was nicknamed Mockingbird 6, and this is the first one I tried last night. It seemed to work very well, and flight times were still in 5 minutes with the JEC48 firmware, and I'm very happy with that. Later I discovered there's a new version that was published a couple of months later. This one is the one that I'm currently flying, and it seems to be doing well, although I have lost about 30 to 40 seconds of flight time. But the quad does feel very well tuned and very locked in, and I'm happy with that. So I'm still getting over 4 minutes of flight time. So this is the one that I would suggest that you use. Alright, so what we'll do next is we'll open the text file. Just click somewhere on the page, Control A, select everything, copy. You'll go over to the Emuflight configurator where we've opened the CLI. You'll make sure you press inside the text bar. You can Control V or right click copy, paste, and you'll press enter. That will write the dump file over to your flight controller, and everything is now set up as per Project Mockingbird. Final thing to do is just to make sure you go over to your modes tab. And assign the correct channel to the correct function. Make sure everything's functioning the way it is. Enable expert mode at the top. Go to adjustments. There's another function that you need to make sure is matching your profiles, and then also make sure you bind your quad again to your radio and make sure your channel mapping and everything is still correct. That's it. Guys, I just want to go over this stuff again. Under the modes tab, just make sure you leave this all as it is. This is set up from Project Mockingbird. The only thing that I added was the beeper function. The rest is all set up by Project Mockingbird, and it's set up in the way that it works together. So leave it as it is, just make sure you match your auxiliary channels accordingly. If you enable expert mode, you go to adjustments. On the first line there's another input that you need to make sure that you match according to your channel auxiliaries. If you look under pit tuning, there's two different profiles set up, pit profiles. Profile 1 is for angle mode only, profile 2 is for acro mode only. Okay, very important to keep in mind. And if we look at rate profiles, there is 3 different rate profiles that's set up for us, and these change automatically as you change your flight modes on your quadcopter from your remote. So very nifty, very cool. So make sure you keep all of the settings the way it was. Once you get familiar and you're getting comfortable, you can tune your own pits and your own rates to your liking, but for what it's worth, you can keep everything the way it is. Guys, also in the video link description there is a link to the Project Mockingbird website itself. Here you can come to have a read at all the functions and setup of the Project Mockingbird for our setup. So this is the one that we went with. So if you open that, you can go and read through all of the changes that was made, the reason why it was changed, what every function does. It's quite clearly defined on this website. So go read through there. It will explain the setup to you quite nicely, and will give you a better understanding of how things are put together and how it works, and especially with the different rates at the different flight modes, and the explanation on the pit profile 1 and 2 for angle and acro. So just go and have a read through there if you want to. I suggest you do at least once before you fly it, just to make sure you're comfortable with what's been done. Final thing that you need to do is at the bottom of that page you'll see there's a couple of CLI inputs that needs to be done manually. So basically what you'll do is you'll go to your CLI tab on your configurator, you'll enter that value, press enter, enter that, press enter, enter that, press enter. These are apparently not included in the diff and you need to enter those manually. So guys, I hope you understood. If you've got any questions, please let me know. I'll try and help where I can, but it's pretty straightforward if you've worked with quads before, and let me know what you think of it. Thanks. Cheers.